Hi, I'm Ray Riley from the Green Hills Art Gallery Committee. The show honoring the art of the indigenous people of the world has been just terrific to put together and terrific to enjoy over and over again. And we are so indebted to David Gradwald for suggesting the idea and then leading us through the planning stages. We miss him terribly, and we have dedicated the show to his memory. We thought you'd like to learn a little bit more about some of the artwork, so we asked 6 residents to spend a few minutes with us talking about their artworks. The stories were so interesting, and in some cases long and complex, that we've divided this into 2 videos. The first one, Indigenous Art number 1, features 4 artworks in residence, and the second one, Indigenous Art number 2, has 2 artworks featuring longer stories that we thought you needed to hear. So sit back and enjoy. Bruce Munson is here to tell us about his model kayak. Hi, Bruce. We have been so intrigued by your kayak. So would you tell us, how do you happen to have it?
Well, my aunt and uncle traveled up along the Hudson Bay back about 1960 or so, and they purchased this from an Inuit that were making a model kayaks. And the interesting thing is it's made exactly like the full-size kayak. Every detail. The full-size kayak has about 40 pieces of wood in it, and the model kayak has about 40 pieces of wood in it. And there are no nails or glue or screws in it, in this one or the full-size one. They're put together either by tying knots and sinew around the pieces or with wooden pegs.
I would think with your interest in building things like the organ that you're building, that would be very intriguing to you to see all of how it's all put together.
It was, and it still is. In fact, getting this little model kayak has made a big difference in my life, actually. The first kayak I made was when I was in high school, and it was really, really bad. It was nothing like this. And then I made 5 total, and finally ending up with made the same way as this is made, not a model, but the full-size kayak.
And it's a kayak that you can actually use.
I used it, I averaged probably 100 times a year for a few years, taking it all over Boundary Waters, etc.
Wow. Do you know anything about the artist?
No. My aunt and uncle gave me this somewhere after maybe the 60s or something like that. And they knew that I had made this really old, not old, but this really bad kayak. And I asked about the artist, and they didn't know. It was made by an Inuit up in the Belcher Islands, which are off the east coast of Hudson Bay. And other than that, typically when they had kayaks like this for hundreds of years, the big one, real kayaks. And typically the men would make the wooden frame. This is made out of little pieces of wood covered by skin, and they would catch the seals for the seal skin, and then the women would sew the seal skin on it.
Well, that's fascinating to think that you could actually use that in making your own kayak.
Yeah.
I think is just terrific. Yeah.
I got all kinds of books and stuff from the Canadian government about the history of kayaks, and I looked up a lot of kayaks from Greenland through Alaska, and each region, very narrow region, has a different shape to the kayak. So this is the type they had in the islands off the east shore of Hudson Bay. So, and that got me started on this crazy thing.
With good results. Yeah.
Good results,
Yep.
Fabulous results.
Well, thanks so much, Bruce. This has been fun.
Well, thank you.
Ethan Hutchcroft has a very diverse art collection that I've grown to enjoy, including these 2 fascinating examples of basketry. So, Etha, what do you know about the origins of your basket?
Well, it's an indigenous rattan and bamboo basket backpack used among various ethno-linguistic groups in northern Luzon and the Philippine Islands. I've been told that it was traditionally used by hunters for carrying equipment and supplies, but it was also popular among the lowlanders for use because it is so lightweight and efficient and durable. It has a removable lid and a basket inside of it to increase its use. I've just really enjoyed it.
How long have you had it, and how did you acquire it?
Well, in 1981, our son Paul was a Methodist mission intern to the Philippines. And he was sent out by the Philippine United Methodist Church and some of the Roman Catholic nuns who were very concerned about their parishioners that were either in prison or under house arrest.
And so you were out in that area and saw the baskets in use?
Well, yes, Paul was sent out into the area not far from Banaue, which is a very popular tourist destination. We were not traveling tourist class. And one of the places that he visited was a bishop who was under house arrest. And when the bishop learned that my husband and I were also there as more senior United States citizens, he insisted that we come to the home, and was so excited that we were going to be returning soon to the United States that I think that is one of the reasons, besides the Philippine people love to give gifts. But he gave us this, I think, particularly as a reminder to please tell their story of repression. I think it has meant a lot to me because of its artistry, but also because of the meaning behind it.
That's a wonderful gift, and certainly every day has that meaning, yeah.
Right.
I know you have another kind of basket.
Well, I do.
And what do you know about it and how it's used?
Different. I went into a local bakery for some breakfast items one morning, and a man next to me came in to sell a handmade broom to the shop owner. And I suddenly realized that his total attire was a G-string and a hat. And I was quite intrigued as to why a hat. And that evening, we were staying at a Christian guest house, and in the shop, they had a very small piece of equipment with some of the ethnic artistry. And this hat was for sale. So I asked why, and I also have a postcard showing that the hat is not worn where you would think of it, up on the head, but it's worn at the very back of the head with this string reaching right here to hold it on. But still, why a hat? And I was told that G-strings have no pockets. So they use these to hold their cigarettes, their matches, their betel nuts, any smoking or chewing equipment that they need. So it was fun to be a part of that culture.
And you brought back two wonderful
And
memories.
I bought it then as a reminder,
Yeah.
right?
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Paula Toms has a stunning collection of Southwest pottery. We selected one very special vessel for the show, and Paula is here today to tell us a bit about it. So hi, Paula.
Hi.
I'd like to know, how do you happen to have this particular piece of pottery?
Well, my aunt collected Southwest pottery on her trips to the West, and I always admired them in her house. And when she died, my brothers and sisters and I cleaned out her house, and nobody wanted the pottery, so I gave it a home. And I had it in boxes for several years because I didn't have a place for it. But when I moved to Green Hills, I remodeled my kitchen. And in the corner, I had open shelves. And that was the perfect place to display this stuff. And when I knew Ray was, or the art committee was doing a show on Indigenous art, I contacted Ray. And she came and she auditioned my artwork, and she
They
suggested,
passed.
yeah, and she suggested that we show this marriage pot. And she also asked me to do some history work on it. Well, that's kind of like going down the rabbit hole, because once you start, you just keep going. And I did learn a lot about Southwest pottery, and I also found out that some of it is very expensive. This pottery was made in Santa Clara, New Mexico. It was made by the Aguilera family of potters. And I have a slight knowledge of the family and how the pottery is made. I was also surprised to find so much pottery is available on the internet for sale, and it ranges from $20 to thousands of dollars. This is a wedding vase, and the design is ancient. This vessel is used in Native American wedding ceremonies. One spout is for the husband, the other the wife. The looped handle represents unity when achieved with marriage. Now that I know a little bit about this pottery, I've been telling my children about this. There are original price tags on the bottom of some of these pieces. This piece has a price tag of $750 on the bottom.
At that time?
At that time, and that was purchased in the 1990s. So I hope I have convinced them that this is not dumpster material.
Oh, let us hope. Well, what do you think the future is of this type of pottery?
I don't know. I'm trying to keep it in my family with my children, and I'm not sure my children are very interested, but I have a granddaughter who has been, she goes to Iowa State, she's been more than willing to come to my house and arrange it on the shelves because she has that eye. And so we've talked about it, and I'm hoping I give her a feel for this, and that maybe someday she will take this pottery and enjoy it like I have.
Let us hope so. That's been good. Anything else you want to say?
Nope.
Okay.
That sounds it.
Thank you so much, Paula.
You're welcome.
I've seen a lot of textiles from India, and I've seen quite a lot of mirror work, but I have never seen a quilt like the piece that Vicki Moraine has. So Vicki, how did you acquire this?
Well, I have always had a fascination with India since I was in high school, because my international exchange student lived with me for a year, and she was from South India, from Bangalore. So I've always wanted to go to India, and I got that opportunity when my younger son Michael was finishing his journalism degree at Northwestern, and then he did a 4-month internship in New Delhi with the Associated Press. So, being the good mother that I am, I felt it necessary that I go over and make sure that Michael got home okay, right?
Right.
So, while I was there, he presented me with this piece because he knows I love color, and we traveled around India a little bit. I didn't get to Bangalore, but we did go to the area where this kind of piece is most apparent and most available. He gave this to me for my birthday, and then we traveled to the state of Rajasthan and the pink city of Jaipur, and saw a lot of mirrored work there, as well as a lot of textiles. And I'll just show you some of the other textiles before we focus on this. Because I'm a weaver, I'm very interested in how things are made, And actually Shama, who was my Indian sister for a year, gave me this sari, which has beautiful gold threads on it. And that would be for a party or some really fun function. And then another kind of work that's done in India is with wooden carved block prints. And this is a more everyday kind of sari. They're about 6 yards long, and you wrap them around you and then sling it over your shoulder. Thank you. But this piece is one of my favorites. And I can tell you a little bit about the history of that if you want.
Would you please?
Yeah, mirrored work started in Iran in about the 1600s, and the Queen of Iran encouraged this kind of work, and then the Mughals brought it to India and other parts of South Asia. And originally, these mirrored pieces were made of metals like tin, or some stones like mica. And I think one of the interesting things about the history of it is that in those countries, they sometimes think about the evil eye, and the reflection of these mirrors is supposed to keep the evil eye away from you so that you are safe. So I just thought that was an interesting tidbit about the history of this piece. And what else would you like to know, Ray?
Is this a pretty typical textile in India?
Well, it is, and in fact, Gujarat state and Rajasthan state are where they first started, but now it's pretty much spread throughout India. And it's kind of one of the ways that the women express themselves in their religion and in their feelings about themselves and their environment. They put so many different pieces on here. There are little beads along here. There are buttons some places. And what they do first is place the mirrors in the designs that they want, and then put a few anchor stitches over it, and then use embroidery stitches to secure it. So there might be a chain stitch here that's going around. There's a satin stitch here that secures that one. Sometimes they do like a blanket stitch or a buttonhole stitch, those kinds of things. And that catches the anchor ones, but pulls them out from the center of the mirror so that the shiny part can show, and it glints in the sun. So this obviously isn't a piece to wear, but on silk or wool or cotton, they will use this on their saris or their salwar kameez, which is a tunic and pant outfit, which is very common to see in the streets of India. So that's where it came from.
So now that you have it, where do you display it, or how do you display it?
Well, I have had this for a number of years now, but we had a baby grand piano. So it was sort of a blanket over that piano, and we had a lot of windows in our house, so it would catch the light. Another way that I display it where I came from, and also here, is I have a railing on the stairs. So I drape it over the railing, and it catches the light there too.
Well, it's lovely, and I'm very envious that you have it. I do love ethnic textiles.
Well, you can come and visit it
Oh,
at
thank
my
you.
house anytime. I'm in the townhouse. Come on over, Ray.
Well, I will take you up on it.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Vicki.
You're welcome.